Welcome to 21st Century Dating Decoded. We're making modern love simple. Get ready to decode your love life. Brought to you by Speed Mingle.
So, imagine this scenario for a second. You pay like $40 to attend an in-person singles event.
Right. Which is pretty standard these days.
Yeah, exactly. So you drive all the way across town in rush hour. You pay another $20 just for parking.
Oh, the parking is always what gets you.
Always. And you walk into this loud, super crowded venue, and by some absolute miracle, you actually lock eyes with someone you really connect with.
A rare occurrence, but it happens.
Right, it happens. You have a great conversation, you're laughing, there is real chemistry there.
Okay, setting the scene. I like it.
Well, here's where it gets crazy. At the end of the night, the event organizer explicitly tells you, do not exchange phone numbers.
That feels so counterintuitive.
Totally. They tell you to scan this unique QR code on their specific app to connect instead. So you do it.
Because you're following the rules.
Exactly. You drive home, buzzing with that genuine excitement of a successful first date. You sit on your couch, you open the app to send them a message, and you just hit a massive brick wall.
Ah, yes. The paywall.
The app literally informs you that unless you pay a $50 upfront subscription fee right then and there, you cannot type a single word to the human being you just spent 2 hours with.
Yeah, the connection is essentially being held hostage.
It's wild. Today on the deep dive, we are completely deconstructing this chaotic, unregulated, and frankly just bizarre landscape of modern hybrid dating.
And we have a really massive stack of source materials in front of us today to help you navigate this.
We really do. We are pulling from operational handbooks, corporate reviews, podcast transcripts from the Speed Mingle TV network, and some incredibly detailed Reddit community reports.
It's a lot of ground to cover. But our mission today is really to act as your guide through this transition.
Because right now, let's be honest, everyone is experiencing massive swipe fatigue. We are all just exhausted by the digital-only dating apps.
So there is this huge cultural migration back to in real life or IRL dating platforms.
And that migration is exactly where we need to focus, right?
Absolutely. Because what is so fascinating about this cultural moment is the illusion of safety.
Yes, the illusion. That's a perfect word for it.
We inherently assume that just because we are stepping away from the screen and, walking into a physical coffee shop or a local bar, that we are leaving the toxicity of the apps behind.
But as we're going to see today, moving offline doesn't actually solve the structural problems.
Not at all. It often just introduces an entirely new set of highly expensive, technologically broken, and profoundly invasive traps.
So we are going to put two very different ends of the spectrum into the ring today to see how they actually operate.
A side-by-side comparison.
Exactly. On one side, we have the corporate tech giant approach of Jigsaw speed dating.
And on the other side, we're looking at the tech-forward, diversified ecosystem of Speed Mingle.
But nested right in between those two, we have to issue a massive warning about the hidden, genuinely terrifying dangers of your local mom-and-pop speed dating nights.
Because right now, the average dater is essentially walking into a casino without realizing they are playing a totally rigged game.
I love that casino analogy so much. I actually want you to really picture the last time you walked onto a major casino floor.
Vegas, Atlantic City, wherever.
Yeah. Have you ever stopped to analyze the architecture of that physical space? It is built on an expectation of engineered chaos.
Oh, completely. The flashing lights, the bells ringing constantly.
And those incredibly ugly labyrinth-themed carpets. They are actually deliberately designed by psychologists to disorient you.
Right, to keep your eyes cast downward toward the slot machines. There are no clocks on the walls.
No windows to the outside world.
They even pump in artificial oxygen sometimes to keep you awake. But here's the crucial difference, right? When you walk into that casino, the social contract is entirely transparent.
You know the house has the edge.
Exactly. You know the architecture is designed to separate you from your money. You willingly accept the terms of the gamble, you pull the lever, and you hope for a payout.
Yes. You know exactly what machine you are feeding your quarters into.
But if we look at the modern dating landscape today, that windowless casino floor has been perfectly disguised.
It's masked as a glowing, beautifully designed app on your phone. Or a cozy local brewery hosting a singles mixer.
It is a casino where nobody tells you the rules. The dealers literally change the game mid-hand.
And your emotional well-being is the currency they are gambling with.
So the stakes for you today are very simple. Are you going to keep treating your dating life like a rigged slot machine.
Or are you going to actively manage it like a diversified relational portfolio?
And to understand how to build that portfolio, we have to start by understanding the market crash we are currently living through.
Which is pretty severe looking at these sources.
Very severe. If we look at the sociological data running through our materials, we are officially living in what cultural commentators are calling the certified freaks era.
Which is just such a wild term. When I first read that in the notes, I thought it meant something entirely different.
I mean, it sounds chaotic, sure, but it actually describes a period of intense, radical honesty.
Radical honesty. Break that down for us.
Modern daters, particularly Gen Z and younger millennials, are laying all of their emotional desires, their baggage, and their specific relationship requirements on the table from day one.
Just putting it all out there immediately.
Exactly. People are being way more open about exactly what they want, both physically and emotionally, than perhaps at any other time in modern history.
So the stigma around stating your needs has largely vanished.
Right.
Wait, hold on. Let me pause you right there because I have to push back on the framing here.
Okay, go for it.
On paper, that sounds incredible. Like, if I sit down across from someone and they immediately say, hey, I have an anxious attachment style, I'm looking for marriage in 2 years, and I need proactive communication.
A very clear list of demands.
Yeah. Shouldn't that radical honesty be the ultimate goal? If everyone is just laying their cards on the table, shouldn't we be in a golden age of healthy human connection? Why are we calling this a crisis?
It's a brilliant question, and it really gets to the absolute core of the problem. Radical honesty is fantastic in a vacuum.
Right.
But here is the paradox we are seeing in the data. Despite this incredible honesty, the digital ecosystem has completely abandoned all structure and boundaries.
We just threw the rule book right out the window.
Exactly. We have the raw desire for connection, and we have the vocabulary to express it, but we have completely lost the architecture to safely pursue it.
And that's what leads to this uncertified dating crisis.
Yes. The digital affordances of these apps, the illusion of infinite choice, the lack of real-world accountability, the geographic anonymity, they have actually bred entirely new behavioral pathologies.
And we have a whole new lexicon for these pathologies, sourced directly from the 21st Century Dating Decoded podcast transcripts in our research.
The slang they use is wildly accurate.
It really is. I want to spend some time breaking this down because when I read these definitions, I instantly thought of like 3 different friends who are experiencing this right now.
Let's look at cookie jarring first.
Yes, cookie jarring.
This is the direct result of the paralysis of infinite choice.
Right. It's when someone has absolutely zero intention of actually committing to you, but they strategically keep you around as a backup option.
The analogy is brutal, but perfect.
You are literally just a cookie in a glass jar on their kitchen counter.
They can see you. They know you are there.
But they only reach in and grab you when their primary high-tier options fall through, or they just need a quick hit of validation on a lonely Tuesday night.
They are basically treating human connection like supply chain inventory.
It is so deeply dehumanizing.
It is. And we have to ask why this happens now, more than ever. It is a direct result of digital proximity.
What do you mean by digital proximity?
Well, historically, keeping someone on the back burner required actual effort. You had to make phone calls, go on physical dates, maintain a presence in their social circle.
You had to actually show up.
Exactly. Today, because you are always just a text message or a random meme forward away, someone can keep you in a perpetual state of maybe with near zero emotional investment.
That is so true. You just send a reel on Instagram and suddenly you're back in their life.
And it fundamentally erodes the self-worth of the person in the jar, because they're given just enough attention to maintain hope, but never enough to establish any real security.
That is so bleak. But honestly, it is nowhere near as terrifying as vulturing.
Oh, vulturing.
When I read the breakdown of vulturing, it felt like I was reading a psychological thriller.
Vulturing is pure emotional arbitrage. These are the digital scavengers of modern romance.
The digital panopticon. These people hover on the extreme peripheries of your social media.
They never actually engage with you directly.
No, they don't text you to ask how your day is going, but they watch every single one of your Instagram stories.
They monitor your relationship status constantly.
They observe your Spotify listening activity, and they just wait.
They are monitoring you without interacting, waiting for the exact moment you show a sign of emotional vulnerability.
You post a slightly sad quote, or you change your status from in a relationship to single, and boom, they swoop in.
Exactly. They capitalize on moments of emotional weakness.
And they aren't swooping in because they genuinely care about supporting you, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They are swooping in because your defenses are down, which makes their barrier to entry significantly lower.
Ugh, that makes my skin crawl.
It is predatory behavior facilitated entirely by the architecture of social media, which allows us to consume other people's lives completely passively.
So people are dealing with being treated like inventory in a cookie jar, and they are constantly paranoid about digital vultures circling their social media.
It is no wonder daters are so incredibly burnt out today.
Which brings us to a 2026 trend that I find deeply fascinating and honestly a little controversial. It's called grim keeping.
Grim keeping, yes.
According to the source material, daters are so exhausted by the toxic positivity of curated dating profiles that they are now bonding almost exclusively over shared cynicism.
Complaining has essentially become the new love language of the modern era.
Right. You sit down on a first date, and instead of asking about their hopes, their dreams, or their career ambitions, you both just start aggressively complaining.
You bond over hating people who use loudspeaker phones in public spaces.
You bond over hating slow walkers in the grocery store, or you bond over the fact that the local transit system is always delayed.
And this is where the behavioral pathology gets really insidious.
Yeah, I have to stop you there again.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely disagree with the sources on this one.
Really? How so?
If I sit down with someone and we both start ranting about how much we despise a specific, highly overrated coffee chain, and we are laughing and we are matching each other's energy, isn't that just a genuine, funny form of compatibility?
I see where you're going with this.
Like, why is grim keeping framed as a bad thing? It feels so much more authentic than sitting there pretending my life is perfect. It's not polished, and that's why it works.
It feels authentic in the moment, absolutely. The dopamine hit of mutual agreement is very real.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we analyze the psychology beneath it, grim keeping is a massive trap. It is essentially a low-stakes trauma bond built entirely over daily grievances.
Okay, a trauma bond, that's intense.
Well, why does it feel so easy? Because it requires absolutely zero actual vulnerability.
Wait, explain that. How is complaining not vulnerable?
Because you are projecting the negativity outward. It is incredibly easy and safe to complain about the subway system or bad coffee.
Okay, I see that.
It is incredibly difficult and terrifying to look across a table at a stranger and say, I am terrified of being abandoned, or I am really struggling with my career path right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Grim keeping allows you to simulate intimacy without ever actually exposing who you are. You are building a relational house on a foundation of external negativity.
And I'm guessing that foundation isn't very stable.
Exactly. The sociological problem is that once you inevitably run out of trivial things to complain about, or once that initial rush of shared cynicism fades, the foundation collapses.
Because there is no actual relational depth to fall back on.
You don't know how to support each other. You only know how to agree that the world is annoying.
Okay, that makes total sense. You are outsourcing the connection to an external enemy. And when the enemy is gone, the connection evaporates.
Precisely.
So we have this landscape. The apps are just a toxic wasteland of cookie jarring, vulturing, and grim keeping.
And the exhaustion with these digital behaviors is exactly why users are desperate to return to the real world.
They want physical chemistry. They want to look someone in the eye and know instantly if there is a spark.
And of course, big tech companies heard this desperation and they saw a massive monetization opportunity.
Naturally. Let's look at one of the biggest players attempting to capitalize on this IRL shift, Jigsaw dating.
Jigsaw is perhaps the most glaring case study in our materials of how hybrid tech and IRL models can completely backfire if the underlying mechanics are misaligned with actual human behavior.
Now, to be fair to them and their origin story, they started with a very noble philosophy.
They really did.
They originally launched as an app called Jigtalk. Their entire premise was a direct, intentional middle finger to the superficial hot or not culture of apps like Tinder and Bumble.
When you looked at someone's profile on Jigtalk, their face was completely hidden.
Right. It was covered by a digital jigsaw puzzle overlay. You literally could not see what they look like.
The only way to reveal their face was to engage.
You had to exchange meaningful text banter. As you sent messages back and forth, the puzzle pieces would slowly drop away one by one, revealing the high-definition photo underneath.
The mechanics forced you to prioritize substance and personality over a perfectly lit selfie.
Which sounds great, but
the psychological hook, while brilliant on paper, had a fatal flaw. It relied on a massive assumption that people on dating apps actually have the patience for a slow burn.
And as we just discussed with the paradox of choice, they don't.
Right. The digital attention span is fractured. Users got frustrated. They didn't want to type 20 messages just to find out they weren't physically attracted to the person on the other end.
So, realizing that digital banter wasn't enough to simulate real-world chemistry, Jigsaw executed a massive pivot.
They transitioned from a purely digital app to becoming one of the country's largest creators of in-person singles events.
They started hosting massive events in major metropolitan areas, New York, Atlanta, Orlando.
Trivia nights, pickleball tournaments, arcade nights, high-end cocktail mixers.
And they leaned heavily into the psychology of the shared goal.
The theory is that if you and a stranger are working together to win a trivia round, your social guard naturally drops.
It removes the pressure of the intense one-on-one job interview style date and replaces it with a genuine vibe check.
In theory, yes, the shared goal is a highly effective psychological tool. But as we see so often, there is a massive chasm between corporate theory and boots-on-the-ground execution.
To truly understand the reality of these events, we have to look at the detailed community reports.
Our sources include a highly critical, frankly cinematic review from a 42-year-old woman posted in a Reddit community.
A community dedicated to dating over 40, right?
Yes. She attended a Jigsaw Halloween mixer, and her experience serves as a masterclass in hybrid dating failure.
I want to spend some time on this review because the logistics she describes turn into an absolute nightmare.
Let's set the scene.
Okay, so she buys a ticket for $19. That is perfectly reasonable. She drives to a slightly upscale distillery. The venue vibe is reportedly great.
She even brings a 30-year-old male friend with her to act as a mutual wingman.
Which, by the way, is a brilliant strategy for managing your relational portfolio in an unpredictable environment.
Definitely. But the second they arrive, the structural integrity of the entire event just crumbles.
First, we have to look at the operational staffing. For an event marketed by a major tech company, there is exactly one host managing the entire operation.
Just one single person trying to check tickets, explain the rules, and manage the crowd.
And the spatial dynamics of the venue are atrocious. The distillery actually has 3 entirely separate events happening simultaneously.
Jigsaw doesn't have a private room.
No. They are crammed into an outdoor patio with 4 large tables. And the only thing separating the Jigsaw singles event from a corporate gathering next to them is a literal row of chairs acting as a flimsy, invisible boundary line.
And because the seating is so awkward and limited, you have attendees, mostly men, just sitting in these boundary chairs, facing outward.
Staring off into space because they don't know where to integrate.
And to make it infinitely more chaotic, there's a comedy show happening inside the venue.
Oh my gosh, the comedy promoter. This part is insane.
The promoter for this comedy show keeps wandering out onto the Jigsaw patio with a literal megaphone.
A megaphone.
Yeah.
He is actively poaching Jigsaw attendees, yelling at them, trying to steal them away for the last 30 minutes of the singles mixer to fill seats at his comedy show.
Think about that for a second. How on earth are you supposed to establish romantic chemistry or be vulnerable when a guy with a megaphone is screaming at you about a 2-drink minimum?
You don't. The environment actively prevents connection.
But the physical layout and the megaphone are actually secondary to the most critical failure of this entire operation.
Which is the gender ratio.
The Achilles heel of any IRL platform is the integrity of the guest list. Jigsaw claims to limit ticket sales to manage gender ratios, but in these unregulated open mixer environments, it is a complete crapshoot.
The math she reports is staggering. For the first 30 minutes of this event, this 42-year-old reviewer was one of exactly 2 women who showed up against 10 men.
And by the end of the 2-hour mixer, the attendance peaked at 5 women and 20 men.
A 4-to-1 ratio.
We really need to unpack the sociology of an unstructured 4-to-1 ratio because it is destructive to both sides.
It creates a hyper-competitive, almost predatory dynamic for the men and an overwhelming, inundating smorgasbord of pressure for the women.
The reviewer explicitly noted that because of this ratio, some men experienced what sociologists call complete social defeat.
What does social defeat actually look like in that setting?
It is a biological and psychological withdrawal. When faced with overwhelming competition and a perceived 0% chance of success, the brain essentially shuts down the effort to protect the ego.
So what did they do?
These men literally just sat on the sidelines in those boundary chairs, staring down at the glowing screens of their phones, completely frozen.
They didn't talk to a single person for the entire 2 hours.
Because the barrier to entry is astronomically high. If you are a naturally introverted guy, how do you break into a conversation when 19 other guys are actively vying for the attention of the exact same 5 women.
You don't. Several men realized the absolute futility of the math, cut their losses, and walked out within 15 minutes of arriving.
It is the exact opposite of a curated, safe experience.
But the operational chaos, the megaphone, the chairs, the ratio isn't even the most concerning part of the Jigsaw model.
The most concerning part is how they enforce their digital tether.
Because even though they pivoted to physical, in-person events, the app itself didn't go away. In fact, it became a mandatory, highly restrictive gateway.
Right. You cannot just walk into a Jigsaw event with a paper ticket.
No, you have to download their specific app. You have to do a live facial recognition selfie just to prove your identity so they can scan your digital ticket at the door.
And this introduces what they market as their signature feature, the match code maneuver.
At a Jigsaw event, the host explicitly tells you not to ask for someone's phone number.
Instead, if you like someone, you are supposed to pull out the app and scan their unique QR match code.
And they market this heavily as a massive privacy win. They say, look, we are helping you bypass the awkward "can I get your number" dance, and we are keeping your last name and personal info secure from strangers.
Now, from a pure surface-level data privacy standpoint, keeping personal details behind a firewall initially is smart.
Sure, it sounds good.
But if we read between the lines of their corporate strategy, it is a highly calculated data capture maneuver. By forbidding the exchange of actual phone numbers and funneling every real-world spark back into their proprietary app, Jigsaw ensures that they own the connection.
They literally own the data of your relationship.
Exactly.
And this is exactly where I get to the scenario I mentioned at the very beginning of the show. This is what I call relational hostage taking.
Let's walk through the paywall trap step by step.
Okay, you pay $19 to $36 for your event ticket. You drive across town. You survive the megaphone comedy promoter. You brave the horrific 4-to-1 gender ratio.
And by some miracle, you actually meet someone you click with.
You scan their QR match code. The event ends, you go home, you open the free app you had to download to get in, and you try to send them a message saying, hey, great meeting you.
And the system locks you out. Despite the app being completely free to download in the App Store, Jigsaw operates on a strictly paid-only model to actually match and message anyone.
You cannot type a single character to the human being you just looked in the eye unless you hand over your credit card for a premium subscription.
And it's not cheap.
No, it's between $10 and $20 a month. The Reddit sources report users being hit with aggressive prompts for a $50 upfront 3-month subscription tier just to unlock the chat function.
The physical chemistry you felt in the room was real, but the conversation is proprietary software.
It is the sunk cost fallacy weaponized to perfection. You have already invested the time. You invested the initial ticket price. You invested the emotional energy.
Holding your established connection hostage behind a $50 digital toll booth feels less like a service and more like a relational ransom.
You pay it because you feel like you have already come too far to walk away empty-handed.
Yeah.
But there is a technological flaw documented in the sources that makes this extortion even worse.
Oh, the notification failure. This is mind-blowing.
Let's say you swallow your pride and you pay the $50 ransom. The technology itself actively suffocates the romance.
Our 42-year-old Reddit reviewer actually had a mutual match with the guy from the event.
But the source material explicitly states that the Jigsaw app famously lacks push notifications for new messages.
Which is a staggering, almost unbelievable oversight for a tech company operating in 2026.
If you don't proactively open the app, manually navigate over to the chat tab, and physically pull down the screen to refresh the server, you have absolutely no idea someone is messaging you.
Your phone doesn't buzz. There is no banner alert.
So connections routinely just die on the vine. Users naturally use the app as a digital ticket to get past the bouncer at the venue. They put their phone in their pocket, and they never open the app again, assuming they will get a notification if someone messages them.
And they don't.
So when we synthesize the Jigsaw model, we are left with a corporate hybrid structure that traps you in financial paywalls, fails spectacularly at maintaining gender balance, and utilizes broken notification technology that actively prevents the very communication it charges you for.
So, as a listener, if you are hearing this, your natural instinct is probably to say, okay, I am completely done with corporate tech events.
Right, you'd think I'll bypass the corporations entirely. I'll just go down the street to a local traditional mom-and-pop speed dating night at the neighborhood bar.
No apps, no facial recognition, no QR codes.
No $50 paywalls. Just a simple community event run by locals. It feels so much safer and more authentic, right?
It absolutely feels safer,
Mhm.
but it is a massive illusion.
The sources really go hard on this point.
They do. When we meticulously synthesize the operational standards, or rather, the lack thereof from our sources regarding these local events, we see a terrifying reality.
Stripping away corporate infrastructure strips away basic consumer protections, data security, and standardized protocols.
The risks simply shift. You aren't dealing with financial paywalls anymore. You're dealing with profound, unregulated privacy violations.
Let's get really specific here because our focus questions demand we address this comparison directly. Let's start with privacy nightmare number one, unwanted photography.
Yes. Our sources highlight a specific, documented cautionary tale regarding an organization called Speed Dating Huntsville.
Okay, so you decide to go to a local mom and pop event. You are just trying to put yourself out there, be vulnerable, and meet someone.
You are sitting at a table, having an intimate conversation.
And you look up. The local organizers are walking around the room using their personal iPhones with the flash on, taking brightly lit, candid photographs of the attendees.
And they aren't doing it for a cute memory book for the attendees. They are harvesting those photos to use as free marketing collateral.
They take these candid shots of vulnerable moments and post them on public, entirely unregulated social media pages to sell tickets for their next event.
I want to ask you, the listener, a very serious question right now. Think about your professional life. Think about your personal boundaries. Do you want to show up on your boss's LinkedIn feed?
Or worse, your ex's Instagram Explore page. Tagged or clearly visible in a highly awkward deer-in-the-headlights photo at a local singles mixer, all because you didn't read the microscopic fine print on some generic Eventbrite page.
Dating is inherently, fundamentally vulnerable. Broadcasting that vulnerability to the public without explicit, informed verbal consent is a massive breach of personal discretion.
It blurs the line between attendee and marketing asset. Which brings us to privacy nightmare number two, which is arguably much worse digital data hygiene.
We have to ask a very pragmatic question here. How does a local mom-and-pop host actually protect your personal information?
Exactly. We have to compare this to a true company. Like, are they a true company? Do they have an LLC? Do they have a Google business profile or a corporate presence on LinkedIn?
Usually no.
When you call them, are you calling a secure office phone or just some random guy's mobile phone?
Unlike true corporate entities that are bound by data privacy laws and utilize encrypted databases and secure domain emails, these local pop-ups completely lack infrastructure.
They are almost universally operating out of generic Yahoo, Gmail, or Hotmail accounts.
Picture this scenario. To register, you gave them your full legal name, your personal email address, and your personal cell phone number.
Where is that data living? Is my information encrypted?
Absolutely not. It is likely sitting on an unencrypted Excel spreadsheet on an organizer's personal virus-laden laptop that they also use to download sketchy movies.
That is terrifying. What happens if they send out a mass email to attendees and they accidentally CC the entire list instead of BCCing them? Now your email is public.
Or what if they release your last name, email address, or phone numbers to people you explicitly did not match with, just through sheer clerical incompetence?
Because there is no digital buffer protecting you. You are entirely at the mercy of the organizational skills of a stranger running a side hustle.
And if we are talking about a lack of buffers, we absolutely must discuss the archaic physical terror of the traditional paper scorecard.
The paper scorecard? If you are lucky enough to have never experienced this, let me paint the terrifyingly awkward picture for you.
Please do.
You are at a local event. You are sitting at a tiny, wobbly cocktail table across from a complete stranger. You have exactly 3 minutes to talk. At the beginning of the night, the host handed you a physical piece of cardboard and a dull, highly unsanitary golf pencil.
And right there, in real time, while this person is sitting 18 inches away from you, you have to physically check a box that says yes or no next to their name.
The physical and psychological friction here is immense.
What happens if the person stands up to rotate to the next table, glances down over your shoulder, and physically sees you check the no box with your golf pencil?
It is so incredibly awkward, and frankly, it can be dangerous. Will they harass you? It opens the door for immediate in-person confrontation right there in the venue.
With an app, you swipe left in the privacy of your own home, or the algorithm filters them out. There is a firewall.
But with a paper scorecard, the rejection is tactile, it is visible, and it is instant.
And beyond the immediate interpersonal friction, there is the disposal threat. At the end of the night, what does that mom-and-pop host actually do with the cards?
Yeah, what do they do with 50 physical cardboard scorecards? Think about what is on those cards: the full names, personal phone numbers, email addresses, and the specific romantic preferences of every single person in that room.
Are they taking those cards back to a secure office building and running them through a cross-cut shredder?
Of course not. Those cards are probably sitting in a shoebox in the trunk of a Honda Civic for 3 weeks. Or they're getting tossed and tacked into a public dumpster in the alley behind the bar.
Anyone could fish them out. It is a staggering data liability that nobody thinks about until their number gets leaked.
But the operational flaws of local events aren't just about data security, are they? They are deeply rooted in flawed demographic assumptions.
Yes. According to the sources, we have to critically examine the open age discrimination practiced by these local hosts.
You see these local events advertised all the time on Facebook or community boards: speed dating, ages 25 to 45.
The mom-and-pop events practice strict, unapologetic age discrimination based on rigid, arbitrary brackets.
They will literally check your government ID at the door, and they will lock you out of the venue if your birth year doesn't fit neatly into their mathematical window.
But think about how absurd that is.
What if you are older than their age range for the event? Can you attend? Like, what if you are 46 years old, you feel incredibly youthful, you run marathons, you are highly active, and you are naturally attracted to people in their late 30s?
Or what if you are 23, but you are an old soul and you are exclusively attracted to older professionals? Can you attend?
No, you cannot. They turn you away at the door.
And this raises a vital sociological point that our sources highlight. This archaic model assumes that demographic birth years dictate psychographic compatibility.
Okay, explain the difference between demographics and psychographics for us, because I think people confuse those terms all the time.
Demographics are hard, statistical facts: age, race, income. Psychographics are behavioral values, interests, lifestyle choices.
Got it.
The local speed dating model assumes that just because two people were born in the same decade, say the 1980s, they naturally share the same worldview and belong together.
But let's use a concrete metaphor. Imagine a 40-year-old whose entire lifestyle revolves around weekend rock climbing, international travel, and veganism.
Demographically, they are grouped with another 40-year-old who prefers to spend every weekend on the couch, watching television, and eating fast food.
Psychographically, that rock climbing 40-year-old might actually be a vastly better romantic match for a 28-year-old who shares the exact same active passions.
But the local speed dating bouncer doesn't care about your hobbies. They only care about the birth year on your driver's license. It completely boxes you out of the relational market before you even get a chance to play.
So let's summarize where we are. We are stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Definitely.
On one side, we have Jigsaw's extortionate $50 digital paywalls, their completely broken push notifications, and their hyper-competitive 4-to-1 gender ratios.
And on the other side, we have the terrifying privacy violations. The boss's LinkedIn exposures, the generic Gmail data leaks, the Honda Civic shoeboxes full of personal data, and the rigid age discrimination of local mom-and-pop pop-ups.
It feels hopeless, but our sources point to a structural solution. We need something that combines the serendipity of meeting in real life with secure, corporate-level, algorithmic precision.
This brings us to the structural evolution of dating. The source material spends significant time analyzing the Speed Mingle ecosystem because they appear to have systematically engineered solutions to almost every single friction point we just discussed.
Let's establish the pedigree here, based purely on the corporate handbook we reviewed, keeping those focus questions about online presence in mind.
Speed Mingle is not a fly-by-night app.
And they certainly aren't a mom-and-pop operation trying to make an extra buck on a Friday night. They were established way back in 2001. They were literally the pioneers of the original 4-minute date concept in the U.S.
They were acquired in 2004, and they've been completely relaunched in 2026 by a parent company called HRB Universal, LLC.
So we are looking at a true corporate entity. They have robust data protections, official domain systems, and a massive media footprint. They have a Google profile, a business profile on LinkedIn, the works.
And if we look at how they address the specific frictions we outlined, let's start with the age discrimination problem.
Right, the 25 to 45 bracket issue.
According to their literature, Speed Mingle tackles this head-on by entirely abandoning those rigid discriminatory demographic brackets.
Instead of locking a 46-year-old out of an event, they utilize a proprietary technology they call SmartSync.
SmartSync.
Okay, how does that actually work mechanically? Does it just pair anyone with anyone?
No, it relies on complex algorithmic precision. But unlike a swiping app like Tinder, which uses an algorithm to feed you an endless slot machine of faces to keep you addicted to the screen, SmartSync is designed specifically to get you offline.
It pairs fully verified users, meaning absolutely no bots or fake profiles, based on real vibes, shared passions, and actual behavioral interests.
It perfectly maps to what we discussed earlier. It prioritizes psychographic compatibility over arbitrary birth years,
It maps how you actually live your life and pairs you with people moving at the same speed.
which solves the demographic issue beautifully. But an algorithm is only half of the solution.
What I find incredibly fascinating in their operational handbook is how Speed Mingle actively forces you to diversify your relational portfolio.
They recognize that human connection is not a one-size-fits-all endeavor.
Yeah.
A loud bar is terrible for an introvert, but great for an extrovert.
So they mitigate your social risk by spreading connection across 6 distinct environments, which they call modalities.
Let's break these down, because looking at how these solve specific problems is really illuminating. First up in the portfolio is Speed Mingle Anywhere.
Speed Mingle Anywhere. Okay, what is that?
It is their direct solution to geographic limitations and the endless texting phase. It is a bi-weekly, face-to-face video interaction platform that you participate in directly from your home.
Okay, stop right there. I have to push back on this heavily.
I figured you might.
I spend 8 hours a day on Microsoft Teams and Zoom calls for work. I am constantly staring at a grid of faces. Zoom fatigue is a massive, documented psychological phenomenon.
It is very real.
How on earth is a scheduled video date on Speed Mingle Anywhere gonna feel romantic? Isn't it just gonna feel like another mandatory HR meeting?
It is a completely valid concern, and if executed poorly, it would feel exactly like an HR meeting. But we have to clarify the specific mechanism and intent here based on their design.
Okay, enlighten me.
Speed Mingle
Yeah.
Anywhere isn't trying to replace the physical romantic date. It is designed as a highly efficient, high-fidelity screening tool.
A screening tool.
Its entire purpose is to replace the agonizing, weeks-long text threads, the pen pal phase, where you text someone for a month only to meet them and realize you have zero chemistry.
Ah, okay, so it cuts to the chase.
It forces instant authenticity. By putting you face-to-face on live video, even just for a few minutes, it allows you to instantly assess tone of voice, cadence, banter, and microfacial expressions.
And crucially, you entirely bypass the outdated curated profile photos. There is absolutely no hiding behind a 7-year-old photo with a dog ear filter.
It is a diagnostic tool to see if a real-world date is actually worth your time and money.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. It's a vibe check before you invest the $40 in the parking fee.
Exactly. But let's say you pass the vibe check, or you are someone who just craves actual physical presence right out of the gate. That brings us to modality number 2, Speed Mingle Social.
These are weekly gatherings at established local venues. Think cool breweries, neighborhood coffee shops, or wine bars.
And the key differentiator here is that they are entirely non-hosted.
Which is a brilliant subtraction of friction. By making it non-hosted, they completely remove the artificiality and the anxiety of a stressed-out local organizer running around with a clipboard, blowing a whistle, and handing out those terrifying golf pencils.
You just show up, you grab a drink, and you enjoy a spontaneous conversation within a pre-vetted, verified community. It strips away the interview pressure and allows for pure, organic chemistry.
But I know a lot of people who absolutely hand unstructured small talk. The idea of walking up to a stranger at a brewery, even a vetted stranger, sounds like a nightmare to them.
Right, the social anxiety can be real.
If that is you, the portfolio offers Speed Mingle happenings. These are curated, activity-based events.
And this taps back into the psychological principle of engineered serendipity. Working toward a shared physical goal, whether it's a cooking class, a light hike, or an art project, accelerates human bonding far faster than sitting across a table interrogating each other about your 5-year plans.
You are doing an activity, your hands are busy, you are moving around, you are laughing at your own mistakes. It naturally bypasses the ego's defense mechanisms.
And, crucially, a healthy relational portfolio isn't just about finding romantic love.
No, if you only focus on romance, your portfolio is completely unbalanced. That is why Speed Mingle Neighbors is such an important inclusion.
This modality is designed to cure what you like to call the elevator nod epidemic.
The epidemic of urban loneliness. We live in incredibly dense cities, surrounded by thousands of people, yet we are more socially isolated than ever. We get into our apartment elevators, we nod politely to the person next to us, and we look at our phones until the doors open.
Exactly. Neighbors is strictly for building platonic community within residential buildings or specific local zip codes. There is absolutely no romance required or expected.
It is purely about building a platonic foundation so you have a support system outside of your dating life.
And for the professional sphere, they offer Speed Mingle B2B. This is high-octane, round-robin professional networking.
What is interesting here is how it respects the user's time by surgically cutting out unproductive chatter.
We have all been to a networking mixer where we get cornered by a life insurance salesman for 45 minutes and don't know how to escape.
The structured rotation ensures you meet the right people, exchange actual value, and move on.
And finally, the crown jewel of the ecosystem, which the sources note is launching in summer 2026, is Speed Mingle 1-to-1.
This is pre-vetted, highly personalized matchmaking over a quick coffee on your own schedule. The Smart Sync algorithm does all the heavy lifting in the background, and your only job is to just show up and be present.
But what is critical to understand about this ecosystem is that Speed Mingle isn't just throwing random events. They are actively trying to shape the culture and education of modern connection.
Which brings us back to the immense importance of online legitimacy and media presence that we touched on earlier.
If we look at the data, a true corporate entity operates as a global authority. They don't just exist in a vacuum. Speed Mingle has built a massive media footprint to educate its user base and establish trust.
According to the corporate overviews, they operate the Speed Mingle TV network, which is broadcast across YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and a dedicated mobile web app.
They aren't hiding behind generic Yahoo emails. They are highly visible. They publish articles on LinkedIn and Substack. They produce the very podcast transcripts we are analyzing today, 21st Century Dating Decoded.
They stream original dating series, they host relationship panels with psychologists, and they even broadcast fly-on-the-wall speed dating events so users can see exactly what the environment looks like before they buy a ticket.
They maintain an established corporate brand with a verified LinkedIn business profile and secure domain infrastructure.
And what's interesting about reviewing these corporate handbooks is seeing how they structure their expansion. There is actually an actionable takeaway here for you, the listener.
According to their franchise-like model, if you look at their map and Speed Mingle isn't operating in your specific city yet, you can contact the corporate office to become a local event host yourself.
It is a structural solution that allows for community expansion while maintaining central corporate oversight regarding data security and algorithmic vetting.
And the handbooks note that if you own a local coffee shop or a restaurant, you can apply to become a venue partner.
It provides a way for local businesses to bring a highly predictable, fully vetted surge of respectful attendees into their space on a historically slow Tuesday night without the chaos of a megaphone comedy promoter ruining the vibe.
It creates a symbiotic, trusted ecosystem where the rules of engagement are clear, transparent, and secure for everyone involved.
So as we wrap up this massive deep dive, what does this all mean for you? We have completely decoded the matrix of modern dating today.
It means you no longer have to settle. You do not have to accept the uncertified digital wasteland of vulturing and cookie jarring.
You do not have to submit to Jigsaw's hostage-style $50 paywalls, their broken notification technology, and their hyper-competitive 4-to-1 gender ratios.
And you certainly do not have to expose yourself to the profound privacy violations, the boss's LinkedIn photo exposures, the unencrypted data leaks, and the terrifying paper scorecard nightmares of local, unregulated mom-and-pop pop-ups.
You now have the blueprint to demand better. You can upgrade your relational portfolio by seeking out vetted, intentional, psychographically aligned ecosystems.
You now possess the analytical tools to transition from being a passive consumer of a rigged digital casino to an intentional architect of structured connection.
I want to remind you to subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss our next exploration. And please do us a huge favor. Take the link to this specific audio and share it with that one friend of yours who is still using an expired dog ear filter on a poorly lit bathroom selfie from 2019.
You know exactly who I am talking about. Save them from themselves.
Before we sign off today, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. This extends a bit beyond the source material we've discussed, but it is a vital philosophical question.
We have clearly established today that the future of healthy connection relies on structure, vetted ecosystems, and engineered serendipity.
But if platforms like Speed Mingle entirely succeed in their mission, if they perfectly curate our romantic, platonic, and professional lives so that we only ever interact with highly compatible, deeply vetted matches through perfect algorithms, do we risk losing something fundamental to the human experience?
Do we risk losing the essential human resilience required to navigate friction, rejection, and truly serendipitous chaos?
If the awkwardness of the elevator nod is perfectly cured by an algorithm that matches you with your neighbors, are we actually becoming better, more empathetic communicators, or are we just outsourcing our social courage to a perfectly engineered system?
Outsourcing our social courage. That is a heavy, brilliant question to end on. If the casino is finally rigged entirely in our favor, and we never have to experience the sting of random rejection, are we still actually playing the game?
Thank you so much for joining us today for this deep dive. Remember to remain deliberate, protect your personal data fiercely, and consistently date with a defined purpose. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to Speed Mingle.
Where making real connections happens in
Stream,
seconds.
swipe, socialize. Your ultimate connection network.
Jump in now.
Thanks for tuning in to the Speed Mingle Network.